Nasaysay ang 4 katao sa India matapos makuryente.
May sumaklolo kaya sa mga ito? Ang mga susunod na pangyayari amin pong ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Biyernes.
Japan, pabor sa malakas na ugnayan ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos.
British Foreign Minister David Lammy bibisita sa Malacanang para palakasin ang ugnayan ng Pilipinas at Britanya.
Pangulong Donald Trump nag-aalangan sa kakayanan ng NATO para ipagtanggol ang Estados Unidos kapag sila ay atakihin.
Cyclone Alfred naglandfall na sa Australia.
At Starship na SpaceX sumabog mid-flight. Inihayag ng Japan ang kagustuhan nitong maging malakas ang ugnayan ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos kahit may pagbabagong nagaganap sa mga pulisiya ng Administrasyong Trump.
Binigyan diin ni Japanese Ambassador to the Philippines, Endo Kazuya, ang kahalagahan ng interes ng U.S. Trilateral Alliance ng Pilipinas, Japan at ng Estados Unidos. Nitong Pebrero, nakipagkita si Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya kay U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Dito nila napagkasunduan na palawigin pa ang U.S.-Japan Alliance habang kinilala nila ang importansya ng trilateral cooperation nila sa Pilipinas. Mula rito ay hinimok ng Ambassador Kazuya ang kasalukuyang administrasyon ng U.S. na manatili ang kolaborasyon ng isa't isa. Sa bahagi ng ugnayan ng Estados Unidos at ng Pilipinas, nanatili pa rin ang commitment ng Washington para i-modernize ang militar ng Manila upang mapalakas ang maritime capabilities nito. Matatandaan na binigyan ng exemption ng Trump administration ng Pilipinas sa foreign aid freeze nito, kung saan hindi maaapektuhan ang $336 million na military assistance para sa modernization ng armed forces of the Philippines.
Magsasagawa ng mga hakbang ang Pilipinas at mga kaalyado nito upang labanan ang anumang pagtatangka ng China na magpataw ng air defense zone o paghihigpit po ng freedom of flight sa South China Sea. Ito ang sinabi ni Defense Secretary Gilberto Trudeau Jr. matapos ang sunod-sunod na konfrontasyon sa pagitan ng mga sasakyang panghimpapawid ng China at ng Australia, Estados Unidos at Pilipinas. Giit ni Trudeau, itinuturing ngayon na pinakamalaking banta sa pambansang seguridad ng Pilipinas ang dumaraming bilang ng agresyon ng China. Dapat din anyang ituring na isang global threat ang agresyon ng China dahil maaari itong makapagpatigil sa isang key trade route na napakahalaga para sa pandaigdigang supply chain. Hindi naman nagbigay ng anumang pahayag ang sinumang opisyal ng China ukol sa mga sinabing ito ni Teodoro.
Kinumpirma ni Foreign Affairs Secretary spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza na bibisita si British Foreign Minister David Lammy sa Pilipinas. Layo ng official visit na palakasin ang partnership ng United Kingdom at ng Pilipinas. Makikipagpulong din anya si Lammy kina Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo, Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. at iba pang matataas na opisyal ng bansa upang talakayin ang ilang regional at international issues.
Secretary Lammy's visit is envisioned to solidify the enhanced partnership between the Philippines and the United Kingdom, which was launched in 2021 through the signing of the joint framework of the enhanced partnership and thereby to further deepen Philippine-UK bilateral relations. The visit will also set in motion preparations for the commemoration of the 80 years of Philippine-UK bilateral relations in 2026. The Foreign Minister
Tiniyak naman ng Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System o MWSS na walang magiging problema sa supply ng tubig ang Pilipinas sa buong taong 2025 kahit papalapit na ang summer season. Ayon po sa ahensya, sa pagitan ng March at May, karaniwang tumataas ang demand sa tubig ng 10% hanggang 15% dahil gumagamit ang mga tao ng tubig para magpalamig dahil sa sobrang init. Paliwanag ng MWSS dahil sa mga shear line at amihan noong nakaraang buwan, nakapag-ipon ng tubig ang mga dam. Anila, sa kasalukuyan ay nasa above normal high water level ang Angat Dam. Ang Angat Dam ay sumusupply sa halos 90% ng tubig sa Metro Manila at makakaratig na probinsya nito. Sa kabila naman nito, hinimok pa rin ang ahensya ang publiko na maging matalino at matipid sa paggamit ng tubig.
Inalis ng Department of Education at DepEd ang 55 private schools mula sa senior high school SHS voucher program dahil sa mga kahina-hinalang pagsingil at hindi tugmang mga billing at student records. Ayon sa ahensya, 22 paaralan ang inalis para sa school year 2021-2022, habang 32 naman sa school year 2022-2023 at isa para sa school year 2023-2024. Samantala, may 12 pang eskwelahan ang iniimbestigahan pa rin ng DepEd. Dahil rito, nasa 200 million pesos ang hindi nilabas na pondo ng Education Department para sa school year 2023-2024. Kasunod nito, nagsagawa ng investigasyon ng Kongreso matapos matukoy ng DepEd ang peking listahan ng enrollees sa 12 pribadong paaralan sa 9 na dibisyon. Nagresulta ito sa 52 million pesos na nawalang pondo noong school year 2023-2024. Layo ng SHS voucher program na bawasan ng siksikan sa pampublikong paaralan at magbigay ng tulong pinansyal sa mga mag-aaral na nais mag-enroll sa private senior high schools.
At good news po sa mga motorista dahil masusundan ang muling pagbaba ng presyo sa mga produktong petrolyo sa susunod na linggo. Batay sa projection ng Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, sa 4 na araw ng kalakalan, maaaring bumaba ng 1.40 hanggang 1.70 ang kada litro ng gasolina at kerosene. Habang nasa 90 sentimos hanggang 1.20 naman ang magiging rollback sa diesel. Ayon sa Energy Department, ilan sa mga dahilan ng fuel price rollback sa world market ay ang ipinato na taripa ng Amerika sa Canada, Mexico at sa China.
Susunod, NATO umaasang positibo ang pag-uusap ng Estados Unidos at Ukraine.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau emosyonal sa kanyang farewell address.
At Trump hindi papatawan ng taripa ang Mexico. Ang mga balitang yan at iba pang balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka nang mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ay hindi naging isang bansa ang Taiwan. Hindi ito nangyari noon at hindi rin ito mangyayari sa hinaharap. Ito ang binigyan diin ni Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi sa isang press conference kung saan tinanong siya ukol sa Resolution 2758 ng United Nations General Assembly. Paliwanag ni Wang, ang tanging reference ukol sa Taiwan ay probinsya ito ng China. Kaya kung kasaysayan at realidad niya ang pag-uusapan, ang Taiwan ay bahagi ng China. At ang pagsuporta sa kalayaan ng Taiwan ay pangingialam sa internal affairs ng China na siyang nagpapahina sa katatagan ng Taiwan Strait. Hindi rin anya mapipigilan ang reunification ng China.
1971年，联合国大会以压倒性多数通过了2758号决议，决定恢复中华人民共和国在联合国的一切合法权利，并立即将台湾当局的代表从联合国及其一切机构中驱逐出去。这一决议彻底解决了包括台湾在内全中国在联合国的代表权问题，彻底杜绝了制造两个中国、一中一台的任何可能。
Makakalaya na si impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol matapos kanselahin ng isang South Korean court ang arrest warrant laban sa kanya. Ibinasa ng Seoul District Court ang desisyon nito sa timing ng indictment na nangyari pagkatapos ng expiration ng initial detention period ni Yoon. Kinatigan din ng korte ang depensa ng mga abogado ni Yoon ukol sa legalidad ng proseso ng investigasyon sa pag-impeach sa Pangulo. Pinuri naman ng defense lawyers ni Yoon ang pasya ng korte. Anila, ang desisyon ng korte na ikansela ang arrest warrant ni Yoon ay pagpapakita lamang na buhay pa rin ang rule of law sa South Korea. Samantala, hindi makalalabas kaagad ng kulungan si Yoon dahil pwede pang umapela ang mga prosecutor sa korte hinggil sa desisyon nito.
Naging maganda ang bunga ng pakikipagpulong ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sa mga leader ng European Union sa Brussels, Belgium.
I present today to the leaders the Rearm Europe plan. The Rearm Europe plan provides up to 800 billion euros for defense investment. It gives the member states fiscal space to invest in defense. It gives the member states possibility to invest in the Ukrainian defense industry or to procure military capabilities that go right away to Ukraine.
Nanguna ang Belgium na magbibigay ng mga F-16 fighter jets sa Ukraine sa 2026 habang ang Croatia ay naglaan ng 2% ng kanilang defense budget at 30% para sa military modernization. Nangyari ito matapos i-anunsyo ng Estados Unidos na pansamantalang suspindihin ng U.S. ang kanilang military aid para sa nasabing bansa. Bilang pagpapakita ng pakikiisa ay nagbigay naman ng mga kaalyado ng Ukraine sa European Union ng suportang militar upang maibsan ng Ukraine ang pangangailangan nito habang nakikipaglaban sa Russia. Binatikos naman ni Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk ang Russia at ang lumalabas na kampihan nito ng Estados Unidos kung saan iginiit niya na hindi basta-basta magpapatalo ang European Union sa harap ng kahit pa anong pagsubok.
Europa jako całość naprawdę jest w stanie wygrać każdą konfrontację finansową, gospodarczą, militarną z Rosją. Jesteśmy po prostu silniejsi, tylko musieliśmy zacząć w to wierzyć i dzisiaj to się chyba dzieje. Musimy wziąć na siebie o wiele większą odpowiedzialność jako Europa za własne bezpieczeństwo. Nie oznacza, żeby lekceważyć tę potrzebę jak najściślejszego sojuszu ze Stanami Zjednoczonymi. Dzisiaj Ameryka jest trochę bardziej wymagającym, trudniejszym partnerem, ale my zbrojąc się de facto powinniśmy wpłynąć na polepszenie relacji transatlantyckich. I utrzymanie NATO i sojuszu ze Stanami Zjednoczonymi musi być także naszym absolutnym priorytetem.
Mayroon namang bagong kontrata ang United Kingdom government sa pag-supply ng mga attack drones sa Ukraine na nakadisenyo para sa mag-monitor ng anumang strike. Ipinanukala naman ng Lithuania na pagdating ng January 31, 2030 ang petsa kung saan magiging miyembro na ang Ukraine ng European Union. Aabot rin sa 20 mga bansa ang interesado na maging bahagi ng tinatawag na Coalition of the Willing na magsusuporta sa Ukraine. Umaasa naman si Zelensky na magiging matagumpay ang magiging pulong nito sa ilang mga matataas na opisyal ng Estados Unidos sa susunod na linggo.
You made a strong signal to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian warriors, to civilians, to all our families, and it's great that we are not alone. We feel it and we know it. Thank you so much for everything.
Sinisi ng U.S. envoy to Ukraine at Russia si Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ito raw ang may kagagawan sa naging pasya ng Trump administration na suspindihin ang intelligence sharing ng Washington sa Kyiv. Alamin po natin ang mga detalye ng balita niya mula kay Jessica Bautista.
Sinabi ni President Donald Trump's envoy para sa Russia at Ukraine na si Keith Kellogg na si President Volodymyr Zelensky ang may kagagawan kung bakit inihinto ng US ang intelligence sharing nito sa Ukraine.
But that's a pretty major concession to Russia to constrain Ukraine's ability to target and hit Russian forces. This pressure really seems to be directly impacting potentially what they can do on the battlefield.
Yeah, but this is one of those. Very candidly, they brought it on themselves. The Ukrainians, what I mean by that. Look, when we were in the Oval Office last week on Friday, and I'll kind of give you the background a little bit of it. When we talked with President Zelensky before that meeting, there were 13 U.S. senators at Hay Adams. And we said, okay, this is like stage managing. This is what you want to say. It's basically going to come in. We have a precious metals deal. You're going to sign the deal. You're going to have lunch. Have a press conference, exit stage right, and you're good to go. We continue to go. What happened became a very combative press conference that went on for almost, 50 minutes. That caught everybody a little bit by surprise. I was right there. And I think what happened is we said, wait a second, this is not what we thought this was going to be. You don't negotiate peace discussions in public.
Noong Miyerkules, sinanunsyo ni CIA Director John Ratcliffe na inihinto pansamantala ang intelligence sharing ng US sa Ukraine. Nang sabihin ni Kellogg na kasalanan nito ng Ukraine, nag-react ang mga nasa event sa Council of Foreign Relations, mga reaksyon ng tila hindi pagsang-ayon. Ang konseho ay isang think tank sa Washington, D.C. Ani Kellogg, hindi pwedeng hamunin ang Pangulo ng U.S. sa Oval Office.
You don't try to challenge the President of the United States in the Oval Office that, in fact, you need to side with me and not the Russians. You don't become an independent interlocutor if you look at something like that. And he was forewarned.
Sinasabing dahil dito, tila pinipressure ni Zelensky na umayon kay Trump sa patuloy na pakikipag-usap nito sa Russia.
The President has been clear that all options are on the table to end this war. For Ukraine, the President is also applying both pressure points and incentives to get Ukraine to the table. The critical minerals deal is an important part of this effort to get Ukraine to the table. And President Trump approaches diplomacy and engagements in a very transactional manner, with economics as the foundation and driving force behind international affairs in President Trump's America's first, quote, transactional diplomacy, end quote, model.
Ang suspension ng intelligence sharing ay sinasabing magpapahirap sa Ukraine na depensahan ang sarili laban sa Russian missile strikes. Ang pagtigil na ito ay kasunod ng pagtigil din ng US military aid para sa Ukraine. Pinibigyang diin nito ang tila pag-ayon ni Trump sa Russia. Nang tanungin si Kellogg ukol sa epekto ng suspensyon ng intelligence sharing sa Ukraine, narito ang kanyang tugon.
The best way I can describe it is sort of like hitting a mule with a 2x4 across the nose. You got their attention. And it is significant, obviously, because of the of the support that we give, okay? But it's one way to get your attention to do it. But it's a pause. It's not an end, and it's then up to them to do it.
Jessica Bautista para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tiniyak ni Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova na papangalanan ng Moscow mga negotiators nito upang pag-usapan ang paglutas sa digmaan sa Ukraine. Ngunit bago yan, nahihintayin muna ng Russia na mag-appoint ang Estados Unidos ng sarili nitong grupo ng mga negotiators para sa peace talks.
Что касается вопроса мирного регулирования, он комплексный и требует, как вы абсолютно правильно сказали, обсуждения деталей на экспертном уровне. Мы по-прежнему ожидаем от американской администрации назначения официального представителя по запуску переговорного процесса и формирования им команды переговорщиков. Соответственно, после этого мы сможем подобрать визави с российской стороны.
Sinabi ni British Prime Minister Keir Starmer na ginagawa niyang lahat upang ayusin ang relasyon ng Estados Unidos at ng Ukraine. Inamin niya na nakikipag-usap siya sa lahat ng key players ng Moscow-Kyiv war, kabilang na anya si Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Naniniwala po si Starmer na mahalaga ang magtulungan ang Europa, Ukraine at Estados Unidos upang magkaroon na ng kapayapaan.
I'm pleased to inform the House that on Thursday of last week, we did discuss security guarantees. The President made absolutely clear his commitment to Article 5 of NATO, absolutely clear that he would have our backs because of the relationship between our parties, and agreed that our teams would sit down together to talk through security guarantees.
Prime Minister.
Well, I do agree with you.
Ayon sa geopolitical analysts, maingat na tinitibang ni Starmer ang sitwasyon ng Washington at Kyiv, lalo na at nais ni U.S. President Donald Trump ng isang agarang peace deal, kasama man o hindi si Zelensky sa usapan. Samantala, sinabi ni Trump na walang choice ang Ukraine at Russia kundi magkaroon ng isang kasunduan.
Well, I think what's going to happen is Ukraine wants to make a deal because I don't think they have a choice. I also think that Russia wants to make a deal because in a different way that only I know, they have no choice either.
Sinabi ni Donald Trump na nag-aalinlangan ito sa kakayanan ng North Atlantic Treaty Organization o NATO na tutulungan ng Estados Unidos kapag sila'y inatake.
Are you thinking about making any changes to NATO where a NATO country gets attacked but they're not paying enough dues so the United States doesn't defend them?
Well, I've said that to them. I said, if you're not going to pay, we're not going to defend. I said that 7 years ago. And because of that, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you. And it also went for the attack. But if they got attacked, they said, well, does that mean you won't defend us? I said, are you current or are you delinquent? They said, if we were delinquent, would you? I said, nope, I would not. And because of that, as you know, hundreds of billions of dollars came into NATO. You wouldn't have NATO right now if I weren't there. And your previous Secretary General has said that. He said he's never seen anything like it. When I came to NATO, when I first had my first meeting, I noticed that people weren't paying their bills at all. And I said I should wait till my second meeting, and I did. And I brought that up. And I said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to participate. We're not going to protect you. And when I said that, as soon as I said that, it was amazing how the money came in. The money came in, and now they have money. But even now, it's not enough. It's really not enough. They should be paying more.
Dagdag pa rito ay sinabi rin ni Trump na pinag-iisipan niya kung itutuloy niya ang kasunduan ng Estados Unidos sa NATO, anya kung hindi raw magiging patas ang kontribusyon ng lahat ng bansa sa naturang organisasyon, ay mas mabuti na lang kung humiwalay ang Estados Unidos o mabuwag ang naturang koalisyon. Ayon sa mga eksperto ay malaki itong policy shift para kay Trump na sa unang araw ng kanyang termino ay sinabi na matibay ang relasyon nito sa naturang defense coalition. Na-question din ang katatagan ng Estados Unidos sa kanyang NATO commitment matapos sabihin ni U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth na hindi kakayanin ng Estados Unidos ang pagpapadala ng peacekeeping force sa Ukraine ng pangmatagalan. At sinabi niyang ang posisyon ng Estados Unidos ay hindi para kalabanin ng Russia kundi ang pakikiisa rito. Tinitignan ng iba ang pag-usbong ng relasyon nito kay Russian President Vladimir Putin at sa Soviet state bilang potensyal na nagkumbinse kay Trump ukol sa importansya ng NATO sa kinabukasan ng Estados Unidos. Nabuo ang North Atlantic Treaty Organization o NATO taong 1949, panahon ng Cold War upang tapatan ang lumalakas na impluwensya ng United Soviet States of Russia o USSR.
President Trump, on Peter's question, are you going to make that policy, U.S. policy, that the U.S. wouldn't defend NATO countries that don't pay?
Well, I think it's common sense, right? If they don't pay, I'm not going to defend them. No, I'm not going to defend them. I got into a lot of heat when I said that. You said, oh, he's violating NATO. And, you know, the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, you know, I mean, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem, France, we got a problem, a couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure.
Nang tanungin naman siya kung bakit nananatili pa ang Estados Unidos bilang parte ng NATO, sinabi ni Trump na wala itong problema sa pagiging parte ng naturang organisasyon. Ngunit iginigiit ni Trump mas maganda pa para sa kanilang samahan na maging patas pagdating sa paniningil ng pangkalahatang pondo para sa NATO.
Yeah, Peter?
Well, so why stay in NATO at all?
I view NATO as potentially good, but you gotta get some good thinking in NATO. It's very unfair what's been happening. Until I came along, we were paying close to 100% of NATO. So think of it, we're paying 100% of their military, and they're screwing us on trade. We had American companies that took...
Matapos maunsyami ang pag-uusap ni U.S. President Donald Trump at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, ay umaasa naman si NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte na magiging maayos ang susunod na pagpupulong ng Washington at ng Kyiv. Ana Cuipo para sa report.
Cautiously optimistic si NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte sa mga pag-uusap sa pagitan ng Ukraine at Estados Unidos. Ito'y matapos hindi magkasundo sina U.S. President Donald Trump at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sa White House noong nakaraang linggo. Sa isang press conference kasama si Polish President Andrzej Duda, inamin ni Rutte na may ilan na maaaring nagkakaroon na ng mga alalahanin tungkol sa kinabukasan ng NATO. Pero binigyan diin ng Secretary General ang naging pangako ni U.S. President Donald Trump sa NATO kung saan sinabi nito na ang Transatlantic partnership ng U.S. at ng NATO ay nananatiling bedrock ng kanilang alyansa.
The United States and Ukraine, as we speak, are discussing how to go forward with this and how to solve some of the difficulties there are based on the letter, the tweet and then a follow-up letter from President Zelensky of Tuesday this week. So that is now ongoing. I'm cautiously optimistic that this will lead to good results. So it's better not to comment on what-ifs because it's my assumption, again, cautiously optimistic that things can move forward in a positive sense.
Inaasahan din anya ni Trump na mas tutugunan ng Europa ang paggastos nito sa kanilang depensa. Sinang-ayunan naman ni President Duda ang mungkahi ni Trump, kaya raw anya siya nagpunta sa Brussels upang magsumite kay Rutte ng isang kahilingan na talakayin ang defense spending sa darating na summit sa Hague. Dapat anyang magdesisyon ng NATO na mag-allocate ang mga member states nito ng hindi bababa sa 3% ng GDP nito para sa defense spending. Maaari rin anyang magbigay ng higit pa sa 3% para sa depensa. Dapat anyang magbigay din agad ng kontribusyon at huwag nang paabutin pa sa taong 2030. Nangangamba kasi si President Duda na kung hindi tataasan ng NATO ang budget nito para sa defense spending, ay baka raw umatake si Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Jedno jest stuprocentowo, proszę Państwa, pewne, że jeżeli cały Sojusz Północnoatlantycki nie zwiększy swoich wydatków na obronność, to niestety, ale być może Władimir Putin będzie miał ochotę zaatakować po raz kolejny, ponieważ nie będzie dostatecznego odstraszania. Chodzi o to, żeby Sojusz Północnoatlantycki był w stanie zbudować dostateczny potencjał odstraszania, aby nie tylko Rosja, ale aby nikt nie zaatakował krajów Sojuszu Północnoatlantyckiego, nie tylko tych, które znajdują się w pobliżu Rosji.
Anakwi para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Inilabas ng Israeli military ang isang video kung saan makikita ang pagsasanay ng puwersa nito kasama ang Air Force ng Estados Unidos. Hindi sinabi ng Israel kung kailan at saan ito sinagawa ang joint aerial exercises kasama ang U.S. Subalit, layon nila na naturang air combat drills na mapahusay ang kooperasyon at koordinasyon sa pagitan ng dalawang military forces. Target din ng dalawang hukbong panghimpapawid na bumuo ng integrated capabilities na tutugon sa iba't ibang mga banta sa rehiyon.
Naging emosyonal si outgoing Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, sa kanyang farewell address sa pagtatapos ng kanyang termino bilang punong mahistrado ng bansa. Sa kanyang farewell address ay inisa-isa niya ang mga major world events sa pinagdaanan ng kanyang administrasyon sa nakaraang dekada. Nabanggit ni Trudeau ang paglusob ng Russia sa Ukraine, krisis sa Middle East at ang dalawang termino ni Donald Trump kung saan binansagan niya ito bilang complicated times. Nakatakda siyang mapalitan bilang Prime Minister sa paparating na linggo.
Your Foreign Affairs Minister yesterday called all of this a psychodrama. How do you characterize it?
Thursday. I've had 10 years of Donald Trump won, historic, once-in-a-century pandemic, inflation crises, war in Ukraine as Russia returns to war in Europe, as the Middle East is facing extraordinarily difficult situations. These have been complicated times. This is the job I signed up for. This is the job I will continue to do until the very last moment I'm doing this job. And it comes with the territory to be steady and strong for Canadians.
You seem to get pretty emotional.
Samantala, nagbigay ng isang buwang exemption si Pangulong Donald Trump sa dagdag taripa ng U.S. automakers ng Canada at ng Mexico. Ito po ay sa gitna ng pag-aalala na ang bagong lunsad at trade war ay pipinsala sa domestic manufacturing ng bansa. May Fanway Zercosa para sa balitang yan.
Ayon kay White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, ang isang buwang tariff exemption na ito para sa automakers ay matapos makipag-usap ni Pangulong Donald Trump noong Miyerkules sa mga leader ng tinatawag na Big Three sa industriya ng mga sasakyan. Ito si Mike Hicks. Siya ang sales director ng DMS Components, isang kumpanyang Canadian-based na tinatawag niyang Home Depot ng molding at die casting. Para kay Hicks, ang 25% na taripa ni Trump sa lahat ng produkto ng Canada ay pag-atake sa ekonomiya na ikasasakit pati ng mga taong masaya sana sa pagbabalik nito sa White House.
We were applauding when he got in as far as the direction for the auto industry, so we do feel betrayed. We do respect that. Obviously, as Canada wants to do what's best for Canada, the United States wants to do what's best for the United States. But again, that is why it's so important that all the facts get out there and we get to sit down and talk about this and actually see what the reality of the situation is.
Dagdag ni Hicks, malaking benta ng DMS ay mula sa mga consumer nito sa US. At dahil sa kaguluhan ukol sa taripa, maraming katanungan ang kanilang customers na hindi nito masagot.
We don't know what to tell customers right now when they phone us. What's my price going to be? Is it $10? $10 plus 25% tariff? You know what I mean? Those type of things are reality situations right now. No one knows how to price anything, and of course, customers are not willing to pay an extra 25% for our products.
Ayon sa The Observatory of Economic Complexity, noong 2023, nag-import ang US ng $11.7 billion na halaga ng auto parts mula sa Canada. Umaasa si Hicks na sa isang buwang exemption na ito para sa automakers ay magkaroon ng katiyakan ang isyong ito.
that created a lot of uncertainty in our industry and many industries, because a lot of programs were put on hold because there was really not a direction. So in my mind, the uncertainty of tariffs are just almost as bad as the tariffs themselves.
Ani Hicks, kailangan nila ng impormasyon dahil nakasalalay ang kanilang hanapbuhay sa kinabukasan ng kalakalan sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa.
The uncertainty of the tariffs, the tariff threats, the tariffs themselves is very unsettling and obviously out of our control. And we want to get as much information on this subject out there as possible, because obviously our livelihoods depend on it.
Lifon Zaragoza para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Ipinagpaliban nga ni U.S. President Donald Trump ang pagpapataw ng karagdagang taripa sa mga produkto mula Canada at Mexico.
USMCA exemption you're essentially announcing today for this 1 month?
It's just a modification, short term, because I didn't want to hurt the American. It would have hurt the American car companies if I did that.
Would you consider the same sort of exemption or pause for the auto tariffs you're talking about next month?
We're not looking at that, no. No, we're not looking at that, no.
Ang nasabing hakbang ay kasunod ng ginawang pag-uusap ni Trump at Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum at ang negosasyon ng pagitan ng mga opisyal ng Canada at U.S. Sinabi ni Trump na pumayag ito na hindi magbabayad ang dalawang bansa base na rin sa United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement o USMCA.
And I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs. And we had a very good conversation. Also, we discussed drugs, and they were working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs, and we've made tremendous progress on both.
Ang USMCA ay siyang kasunduan na isinulong ni Trump sa kanyang unang termino. Ito ay nangangahulugan na isang free trade zone ang tatlong North American countries. Pinasalamatan ni Sheinbaum si Trump dahil sa pagrespeto sa USMCA, kung saan iginiit nitong lahat ng mga produkto mula sa Mexico ay sakop ng nasabing kasunduan.
Este acuerdo es válido hasta el 2 de abril. Recuerden que él anunció que el 2 de abril va a anunciar tarifas, le llama él, aranceles le llamamos nosotros, a todos los países del mundo. Entonces nos pone a México dentro de ese acuerdo internacional o de la decisión que va a tomar, más que acuerdo, porque es una decisión de ellos, pero nos pone dentro, igual que a cualquier otro país del mundo, no con lo que estaba haciendo ahora, que finalmente nos excluía. Podemos no estar de acuerdo.
Maipatutupad lamang ang nasabing taripa sa darating na April 2.
On this, steel and aluminum tariffs are due to kick in next week on Canada, Mexico, and every other country. Are those going to be modified as well?
No, those are modified. Those are happening next week, and the big one will be on April 2nd when reciprocal tariffs. So if India or China or any of the countries that really, India is a very high tariff nation.
Noong Miyerkules, sinabi ng Estados Unidos na rerepasuhin nila ang kondisyon ng pag-abot ng pondo para sa tulong militar sa Ukraine. Ayon sa White House, kasalukuyang pinag-uusapan muli ang isang minerals deal sa pagitan ng Washington at ng Kiev. Si Jonah Maliari para sa karagdagang detalye.
Ipinahayag ni White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt ang impormasyon mula sa National Security Council. Anya, kinokonsidera muli ng U.S. ang inihinto nitong tulong militar para sa Ukraine kamakailan.
I believe what the National Security Council told me in regards to that was that they paused or they are reconsidering the funding for Ukraine, as you saw, the pause on the funding. As for intelligence matters, I would refer you to either the National Security Council or the CIA as well.
But they're considering lifting or reinstating the military aid going to Ukraine, which they paused this
Again,
week.
it's a pause for a review.
Noong Lunes, pinahinto ni Pangulong Donald Trump ang paghahatid ng military aid papasok ng Ukraine. Ito ay matapos ang mainit na sagutang naganap sa White House noong Biyernes ng hapon na layon sanang maging lagdaan ng isang minerals deal sa pagitan ng Washington at Kiev. Jonna Malari para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, 54 sugatan sa salpukan ng 2 bus sa Barcelona.
Mahigit sa kalahati ng adult population obese na sa taong 2050.
At Olivia Rodrigo, unang PhilAm headliner sa Glastonbury Festival. Mga detalye po ng mga balitang yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik na Mata ng Agila International. Higit sa 80,000 na mga residente sa silangang Australia ang inilikas dahil sa pagtama ng Cyclone Alfred sa bansa. Ayon sa Bureau of Meteorology ng Australia, higit sa 100 kilometers per hour ang kanilang naitalang wind gusts na tumatama sa coastal borders ng Queensland at New South Wales. Sinabi ni Queensland Premier David Crisafulli, halos 100,000 mga tirahan na sa Gold Coast at New South Wales ang nawala ng kuryente dahil sa malakas na ihip ng hangin. Suspendido na rin ang lahat ng mga pasok sa paaralan, maging ang mga operasyon sa mga paliparan, pantalan at istasyon tren. Binalaan naman ni Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese ang mga taong gumagala-gala pa sa mga shoreline kahit may bagyo. Anya, hindi biro ang magiging pinsala ng Cyclone Alfred sa bansa at dapat maging responsable ang publiko sa kanilang buhay sa oras ng kalamidad.
Hindi bababa sa 54 na mga pasahero ang sugatan sa salpukan ng 2 bus sa Barcelona, Spain. Ayon sa ulat ng emergency services, 4 sa mga ito ay nasa kritikal na kondisyon. Agad na rumesponde ang mga paramedics at mga pulis para dalhin ang mga biktima sa ospital. Naganap ang insidente sa Diagonal Avenue, isa sa mga busiest avenues ng Barcelona. Natapat din ang araw na ito kung saan punong abala ang Spain sa Mobile World Congress na pinupuntahan ng halos 1,000 mga attendees.
Patay ang 4 na katao sa India matapos makuryente sa sumabit na iron ladder o hagdan sa isang power line. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nag-aayos lamang ang 4 na mga dekorasyon para sa isang event nang sinubukan nilang ilipat ang ginagamit nilang hagdan. Dito na sila bumagsak at nangisay sa daan. Wala namang magawa ang ibang tao sa paligid dahil kapansin-pansin nga malakas ang daloy ng kuryente mula sa power line. Kinilala ng mga pulis ang mga biktima na sina Maria Vijayan, Michael Findro, Arul Soben at Justus.
Nahaharap sa patong-patong na kaso sa Florida ang controversial online influencer at alleged sex trafficker na si Andrew Tate matapos nitong lumipad ng Florida kasama ng kanyang kapatid na si Tristan. Itong una nilang foreign trip simula noong tanggalin ng Romania ang travel ban laban sa magkapatid. Iniimbestigahan ngayon ng Tate brothers para sa kanilang paggawa ng isang organized criminal group, human trafficking, trafficking of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor at money laundering. Hindi naman ikinatuwa ni Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ang pagdating ng magkapatid at sinabi nitong hindi raw welcome ang mga misogynist sa kanyang state.
Reporting out there that controversial podcaster accused human trafficker Andrew Tate may be on his way to Florida. Is he welcome here? What would the state do to send him back to Romania or whatever?
We have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States, and I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening. Okay, guys, thanks so much.
Sa ngayon ay naglunsad na rin ang sariling criminal investigation si Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer at sinilbihan na rin ang dalawa ng search warrants at sabina bilang parte ng active inquiry sa kontrobersyal na business practice ng dalawa. Ilang babae na rin ang nagsampa ng kaso sa magkapatid kung saan sinasabi nilang kinumbinsi daw ng Tate brothers ang mga kababaihan na pumasok sa sex work sa Romania bilang parte ng kanilang trafficking ring matapos naman ito ay siniraan nila ang mga babae gamit ang kanilang social media platforms noong nagsumbong sila sa mga otoridad sa Romania. Si Andrew Tate ay isang failed kickboxer at self-described misogynist na sumikat dahil sa paglabas nito sa British version ng Big Brother. Kasalukuyang naninirahan ang magkapatid na sina Andrew at Tristan sa Romania dahil naharap din sila sa magkahiwalay na rape at sex trafficking charges sa United Kingdom. Ipinipilit ng magkapatid na wala silang sala sa lahat ng kaso na kanilang kinakaharap.
Andrew, how are you? How are you, Andrew? Listen. We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us, a lot of things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December in Romania under the Biden administration. And our prosecutor recently decided, because we have no active indictment in court, to let us go and return. This is a democratic society. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, as my brother and I are. And I think it's extremely important that we stop allowing media spin, wrap-up smears, lies, or carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
Ayon sa analysis forecasts, mahigit sa kalahati ng adult population at isa sa kada 3 bata ay matatawag na overweight or obese sa taong 2050. Binansagan naman ng naturang organisasyon bilang unparalleled threat sa kalusugan ang mismong pag-aaral. Si Chris Agila po para sa detalye.
Ayon sa report, sa taong 2050, mahigit sa kalahati ng mga matatanda at ilan sa mga bata o kabataan sa buong mundo ay overweight or obese. Mayroong posibilidad na magdulot ito ng maagang pagkamatay, sakit at malaking dagok sa healthcare system. Sa lumalaking populasyon ng obesity crisis sa dumaang 3 dekada, mayroong biglang pagtaas ayon sa analysis na inilathala ng Lancet. Ayon sa datos ng Lancet, UK, ang mga bata na nag-eedad ng 5 to 14 years old, ang obesity ay lalago mula sa 12% sa mga babae sa 2021 hanggang sa 18.4% sa 2050 at 9.9% natataas ng hanggang 15.5% sa mga kalalakihan. Mayroon ng 2.11 bilyon na matatanda na nasa edad 25 years old pataas at mayroon ding 493 milyon na mga bata 5 hanggang 24 years old na lumalabas sa wastong timbang o kung tawagin ay obese. 8 bansa ang nag-aambag mahigit kalahati sa kabuuang populasyon ng mga taong overweight o obese. Nangunguna na dito ang bansang China sa 402 milyon, sinusundan naman ito ng India na may 180 milyon, U.S na may 172 milyon, Brazil na may 88 milyon, Russia na may 71 milyon, 58 milyon para sa Mexico, 52 milyon sa Indonesia at Egypt na may 41 milyon na overweight o obese. Ang mga mananaliksik ay nagsasabi na ang mga bata ay mas mabilis tumaas ang timbang kaysa sa noong mga lumipas na dekada. Kalaunan, nagkaroon ng obesity at tumaas ang risk of type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease at cancer sa murang edad. Krisa Agila para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Habang papalapit ang paglipat sa Daylight Saving Time o DST, maraming tao sa Estados Unidos ang kailangang mag-adjust sa pagkawala ng isang oras ng tulog. Nagsisimula ang Daylight Saving Time sa linggo ng alas 2 ng madaling araw at babalik ang Standard Time sa November 2. Gayunpaman, hindi ito nangyayari sa mga lugar katulad ng Hawaii at karamihan sa Arizona na nananatili sa Standard Time sa buong taon. Ayon sa mga eksperto, maaaring makaapekto ito sa ating kalusugan kabilang ang mas mataas na panganib ng pagkapagod, stress at iba pang isyong medikal. Base na rin sa pag-aaral, ang biglaang pagbabago sa oras ng tulog ay maaaring magdulot ng sleep deprivation na nauugnay sa mas mataas na panganib para sa sakit sa puso, depression at car accidents. Bukod rito, maaaring maapektuhan ang ating circadian rhythm o ang natural na body clock na maaaring magdulot ng hirap sa pagtulog at pagbaba ng enerhiya sa buong araw. Upang mapaghandaan ito, inirerekomenda ng mga eksperto ang unti-unting pagsasaayos ng sleeping schedule ilang araw bago ang DST. Makatutulong din ang pag-iwas sa caffeine at electronic devices bago matulog, pati na rin ang pagkakaroon ng sapat na exposure sa araw tuwing umaga para mabilis na makapag-adjust ang katawan. Bagamat pansamantala lamang ang epekto ng DST, mahalaga pa rin na bigyang pansin ang ating kalusugan upang maiwasan ang mas matinding epekto nito sa pang-araw-araw na gawain.
Umapila si French Industry Minister Marc Ferracci sa European Commission na protektahan ang steel industry laban sa Trump tariffs. Andrea Huevaserno po para sa balita niyan.
Kailangan proteksyonan ang steel industry ng Europa dahil sa nakaambang na Trump tariffs. Ayon iyan kay French Industry Minister Marc Ferracci. Sinabi ni U.S. President Donald Trump na posible siyang magpataw ng 25% na taripa sa mga produktong nanggagaling sa Europa. Nag-iimbestiga na ngayon ang European Commission kung hihigpitan nito ang kasalukuyang sistema ng kanilang quotas on steel upang maproteksyonan din ang mga producers.
L'acier européen, la filière sidérurgique, est aujourd'hui dans une situation très difficile. Ce sont des centaines de milliers d'emplois en Europe. Ce sont des produits qui irriguent toutes les chaînes de valeur, l'automobile, la défense. Ça a été dit ce matin, l'acier est une dimension absolument nécessaire de notre autonomie stratégique.
Binigyang diin ni Ferracci na bukod sa bantang taripa ni Trump ay mayroong influx ng mga cheap imports mula sa China. Giit pa ng French Industry Minister, if we do not take strong measures, plants will close down. Kaya nanawagan siya na kailangan magkaisa ang buong Europa upang magsagawa ng trade offensive na kayang tapatan ang 25% tariffs ni Trump.
Nous avons un constat qui est que nous avons besoin de protection, que l'industrie européenne et l'acier européen a besoin de protection. Ça signifie très concrètement que nous devons à court terme renforcer les mesures de sauvegarde qui existent mais qui prendront fin bientôt et qui au moment où nous nous parlons, sont devenues insuffisantes compte tenu de l'évolution du marché européen.
Andrea Huevos Herno para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A second failure within this year. Ito ang kinaharap ng SpaceX matapos sumabog sa himpapawid ang Starship ngayong araw ng Huwebes. Pinalipad ang Starship sa tulong ng heavy booster rocket sa launching site sa Boca Chica, Texas. Sa isang pahayag ng SpaceX, nawalan sila ng contact sa Starship matapos ang pagsabog nito. Pansamantala namang ipinatigil ng Federal Aviation Administration o FAA ang flight sa mga paliparan sa Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach at Orlando dahil sa kumalat na debris. Tiniyak naman ng SpaceX na walang napasamang toxic material sa mga kumalat na debris.
Napili po ang Filipino-American pop star na si Olivia Rodrigo na maging headliner sa tanyag na Glastonbury Festival. Zaira Castillo para sa balitang yan.
Ang Glastonbury Festival ay muling gaganapin ngayong Hunyo sa Worthy Farm, Pilton, Somerset. Taon-taon ay patuloy itong dinadagsa ng libo-libong tagahanga mula sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo upang masaksihan ang mga talentadong music artist sa entablado at ipagdiwang ang larangan ng musika, kultura at pagkakaisa bilang pagkalang sa bawat individual. Ilan sa mga nakalipas na headliner ng event ay sila Beyonce, Arctic Monkeys, Coldplay, Adele at Billie Eilish. Sa taong ito ay makakasama ni Olivia bilang headliner sila Neil Young at ang banda na The 1975. Makakasama nila ang ilang mga kilalang performer katulad nila Charlie XCX, Gracie Abrams, Noah Kahan at iba pa. Sa edad pa lamang na 22 years old ay nakapaghakot na ang singer at songwriter na si Olivia ng 3 wins at 14 nominations sa Grammy Awards. Sumikat siya sa kanyang debut single na Driver's License, kantang Good For You, Traitor at Deja Vu. Kilala din siya bilang isang Disney star at kumanap sa Bizarre Vark taong 2016 hanggang 2019 at High School Musical, The Musical, The Series taong 2019 hanggang 2022. Mainit naman siyang tinanggap ng kanyang mga tagahanga sa naging pagbisita niya dito sa bansa noong October 2024 para sa kanyang Guts Tour na ginanap sa Philippine Arena. Zaira Castillo reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita sa anumang dako ng mundo. Happy weekend, everybody! Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako naman si Nina Richie Alago Flores na bumabati rin po ng happy weekend. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari din sa iba pang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. In a sudden shift, President Donald Trump has announced a one-month delay on tariffs affecting goods from Mexico and Canada covered under the USMCA trade agreement.
And I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs.
In February alone, the reduction in fentanyl seizures on the U.S. side of the border with Mexico was reduced by 41.5%.
Entonces le dije, estamos teniendo resultados.
So I said to him, we are getting results, President Trump.
And the news starts now. In a sudden shift, President Donald Trump has announced a one-month delay on tariffs affecting goods from Mexico and Canada covered under the USMCA trade agreement. And this pause in the trade war offers some relief to both nations. But the ongoing uncertainty is sending markets into a tailspin. Take a look.
One for Canada, one for Mexico.
Yes, sir. U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday delayed for nearly 1 month his 25% tariffs on a wide range of goods from both Canada and Mexico. The latest twist in this fast-shifting trade policy. The exemption covers Canadian and Mexican goods under the North American Trade Pact. It comes just 2 days after Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on goods from the country's two largest trading partners, which has rattled financial markets and business leaders, who warned the move would hurt American consumers.
Después de hablar con la presidenta de México, Claudia Sheinbaum.
At a press conference, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum read aloud Trump's Truth Social post announcing the 1-month reprieve. She said the decision followed a, quote, respectful phone call with Trump, during which she explained that Mexico's security measures have been working to reduce the flow of fentanyl into the U.S.
And I spoke to the president of Mexico, wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs. And we had a very good conversation. Also, we discussed drugs, and they were working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs, and we've made tremendous progress on both.
Solamente en febrero.
In February alone, the reduction in fentanyl seizures on the U.S. side of the border with Mexico was reduced by 41.5%.
Entonces le dije, estamos teniendo resultados.
So I said to him, we are getting results, President Trump. Now that you put in the tariffs, how are we going to continue collaborating with something that hurts the people of Mexico?
April 2nd is going to be a very big day for America.
Trump said the tariff exemptions will last until April 2nd, when he has threatened to impose a global regime of reciprocal tariffs on all U.S. trading partners. The latest development comes a day after Trump exempted automotive goods from the 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico. Economists said those levies threaten to stoke inflation and stall growth across all three economies.
The relationship between the U.S. and Canada is facing significant challenges, with trade tensions escalating between the two nations. Let's go to our NET25 correspondent Jay Suarez in Vancouver for the developments on this crucial issue. Jay.
I'm reporting from Vancouver, Canada. After a tense phone call between President Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has highlighted the deepening trade rift between the two nations. The nearly 50-minute conversation, which included Vice President J.D. Vance and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, quickly turned heated as they discussed fentanyl trafficking and tariffs. According to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Trump expressed strong dissatisfaction with Canada's efforts to combat fentanyl smuggling.
Well, the president did just put out a statement on his call with the governor, Justin Trudeau, as he calls him, of Canada. And he said that he was not pleased, as you said. He said it's not good enough. He told Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that directly. The call ended in a somewhat friendly manner, as the president said, but he's not going to stop standing up for the American people.
The majority of the call focused on drug trafficking and illegal migration from Canada into the U.S. Trudeau detailed Canada's increased efforts, but Trump dismissed them as insufficient. Leavitt further emphasized the severity of the fentanyl issue.
For the last 4 years, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north and the south, Canada and Mexico, respectively, have allowed America to be a dumping ground, not just for illegal aliens, but for illegal, poisonous, deadly fentanyl, which is now the #1 killer of young people in this country aged 18 to 34. Through the northern border in Canada, in last fiscal year alone, there was enough fentanyl seized to kill 4.8 billion people. And that number is up 2,050% from 2023, the year before.
Following the call, Trump took to social media, accusing Trudeau of using the tariff issue for political gain. He even suggested that Canada should become the 51st U.S. state to to avoid tariffs.
Sure. Well, the president put that in his True Social account, or his True Social post earlier today. He feels strongly that it would be very beneficial for the Canadian people to be the 51st state of the United States. They wouldn't be paying for these tariffs. They'd have much lower taxes if they were part of our great country.
Trudeau responded firmly, stating,
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal. But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
As tensions continue to rise, Trudeau remains committed to standing up for Canadian interests against Trump's trade policies. The ongoing trade conflict between these two long-standing allies shows no signs of easing, with both sides digging in for what could be a prolonged standoff. In Vancouver, Jay Suarez for NET25 World News.
European leaders gathered in Brussels for an emergency summit, grappling with a new geopolitical landscape following Donald Trump's return to the White House. High on the agenda was boosting defense spending and bolstering support for Ukraine as it battles Russian aggression. Now, the Trump administration's decision to pause aid to Ukraine and its push for Europe to take greater responsibility for its own security have fueled fears that the U.S. might abandon the Transatlantic alliance. In a stark warning, Ukraine's former army chief and current ambassador to the UK expressed deep concerns about the future of Western unity. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended the summit, where EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen underscored the urgency of stepping up support for Ukraine. Take a look.
Trump says he's felt this way for years and shared it with NATO allies during his first term in office.
Well, I've said that to them. I said, if you're not going to pay, we're not going to defend. I said that 7 years ago. And because of that, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you. And it also went for the attack. But if they got attacked, they said, well, does that mean you won't defend us? I said, are you current or are you delinquent? They said, if we were delinquent, would you? I said, nope, I would not.
A mutual assistance clause lies at the heart of the NATO alliance. It's been around since 1949 with the primary aim of countering the risk of a Soviet attack on Allied territories. Trump also says he has questions about whether some members of the alliance would come to the aid of the United States.
And, you know, the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem, France, we got a problem, a couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure.
Trump's remarks could trigger alarm bells in capitals from Europe to Asia. Leaders there are already worried about a withdrawal of U.S. security support after Trump clashed with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He's shown greater willingness to deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says he realizes there are questions about where the alliance is headed.
These are uncertain times, and I know some may have concerns about NATO's future, so let me be clear. The transatlantic relationship and the transatlantic partnership remains the bedrock of our alliance. President Trump has made clear its commitment of the US and his commitment personally to NATO. And it has also made clear the expectation that we in Europe must do more in terms of defense spending.
EU leaders meeting in Brussels on Thursday agreed to hike defense spending. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says all members of the EU have to help rearm Europe.
There's a huge pressure on all member states to increase their defense spending.
and to have literally a surge in defense. And therefore, the rearm plan with the 5 elements was very much welcomed by all leaders. I am absolutely confident that it will be used.
But Ukraine's ambassador to the UK says he's not so sure the alliance will survive.
Today it is obvious that the White House questioned the unity of the entire Western world. Not only that, we see that Washington is already trying to shift the security of Europe's defense to its own forces without the United States. Such actions probably mean that NATO may cease to exist in the near future. It is also obvious that Washington's non-recognition of the aggression of the Russian Federation, something we have seen recently, is also a new challenge, and not just for Ukraine, but for the entire Europe. This is enough to understand that it is not only Russia and the Axis that is trying to destroy the world order, but the United States of America is actually destroying it completely.
Like everything else that comes out of the White House these days, Trump's musings about NATO raise doubts and lack clarity. And that's causing a lot of sleepless nights for world leaders trying to plan defense strategies. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that he's considering revoking the temporary legal status of approximately 240,000 Ukrainians who fled to the U.S. after Russia's invasion. Now, this decision would mark a significant shift from the welcoming stance of the Biden administration and could lead to expedited deportations. Again, take a look.
U.S. President Donald Trump said on Thursday that he would soon decide whether to revoke temporary legal status for some 240,000 Ukrainians who fled the conflict with Russia.
And there were some people that think that's appropriate and some people don't, and I'll be making a decision pretty soon. Okay? But we're not looking to hurt them, especially Ukrainians. They've gone through a lot.
Such a move would be a stunning reversal of the welcome Ukrainians received under President Joe Biden's administration and potentially put them on a fast-tracked deportation. A senior Trump official and 3 other sources said the planned rollback of protections for Ukrainians would be part of a broader Trump administration effort to strip legal status from more than 1.8 million migrants allowed into the U.S. under temporary humanitarian parole programs. All 4 sources said a move to revoke Ukrainians' status could come as soon as April, and that the plan was already underway before Trump's public feud with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky last week.
I feel safe here, but not completely. When today or tomorrow, they can send me away.
Nadia Mariash is part of the Uniting for Ukraine, or U4U program, which provides a process for displaced Ukrainians to apply for lawful entry into the U.S. While visiting Brooklyn's Brighton Beach on Thursday, she voiced her fears and frustrations over Trump potentially revoking her temporary legal status.
My opinion is that he's treating the Ukrainians who work here legally very badly. We have U4U status. We work here legally. We pay taxes. He's acting very wrongly.
People were scared as of the beginning of 2025 after the inauguration.
Andrzej Dobryansky with the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America says the Ukrainian community in New York was worried this would happen after being warned by holdover administration officials.
Many of these people do not have homes to return to. We're talking about people whose entire towns have been leveled altogether. Where would be sending them back? To nothing.
A Trump executive order issued on January 20th called for the Department of Homeland Security to, quote, terminate all categorical parole programs. Migrants stripped of their parole status could face fast-track deportation proceedings, according to an internal ICE email seen by Reuters.
The Trump administration is taking bold steps to challenge China's influence in the shipping industry. A draft executive order reveals plans to impose fees on any ships built in China or flagged there when they dock at U.S. ports. Now, this move not only targets Chinese vessels, but also encourages allies to follow suit, with warnings of possible retaliation for those who don't comply.
Any ship built in China or flagged there will face a fee when it docks in the US. That is according to a draft executive order seen by Reuters on Thursday. What's more, the order calls on allies to do the same or risk retaliation. The US also plans to impose tariffs on Chinese cargo handling equipment. It's all part of moves by the Trump administration to revive domestic shipbuilding and loosen China's grip on the wider marine sector. The order says the national security of the US is endangered by China's unfair trade practices in the maritime, logistics and shipbuilding sectors. Reuters had first reported that such plans were in the pipeline a day earlier, based on a fact sheet attached to the order. The US Trade Representative's office last month proposed fees of up to $1.5 million for Chinese-built ships entering American ports. That followed a probe into China's domination of global maritime and logistics businesses. Separately Thursday, Trump commended French shipping giant CMA-CGM for saying it would invest $20 billion in the US. The company says it will expand existing container ports and create 10,000 jobs. But CMA-CGM has a vessel-sharing agreement with Chinese cargo line COSCO, and says that any fees on Chinese-built ships will hit every firm in the industry.
The United Nations has significantly reduced aid to Rohingya refugees in Indonesia due to massive funding cuts by the U.S. From our ASEAN Bureau, Crystal Mapa reports.
In a shocking move, the United Nations Migration Agency has drastically reduced aid to hundreds of Rohingya refugees in Indonesia. This decision comes after massive funding cuts by their largest donor, the United States. According to a letter obtained by Reuters, the International Organization for Migration, or IOM, will no longer provide health care and cash assistance to 925 Rohingya refugees in Pekanbaru starting March 5 due to resource constraints. However, some support will continue for the most vulnerable individuals. The Rohingya, mostly Muslim and originally from Myanmar, make up the world's largest stateless population. Each year, many flee dire conditions and persecution in Myanmar and neighboring Bangladesh, often risking their lives on perilous boat journeys to reach Indonesia and Malaysia. The IOM's decision is linked to the Trump administration's significant cuts to foreign aid, according to Chris Liwa, director of the Arakan Project, and another source familiar with the situation. In a statement, IOM emphasized its commitment to providing vital humanitarian assistance despite these challenges. The U.S. Embassy in Jakarta has yet to comment on the matter. This move is part of a broader trend since President Trump took office, which has halted most U.S. foreign aid and dismantled U.S. aid, causing global humanitarian turmoil. In related news, the World Food Program plans to have food rations for over 1 million Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh to just $6 per month. The UN estimates that about 2,800 Rohingya refugees live in Indonesia, with the 925 in Pekanbaru relying entirely on cash assistance. Reporting from Thailand, this is Crystal Mapa for NET25 World News.
NASA astronaut Sunita Williams has strongly disagreed with Elon Musk's proposal to deorbit the International Space Station ahead of its scheduled retirement in 2030. Speaking from aboard the ISS, Williams emphasized the station's ongoing scientific contributions and its prime condition.
It brings to mind family and all the people on the ground who support us. So, it's been a roller coaster for them, probably a little bit more so than for us. We're here, we have a mission, we're just doing what we do every day, and every day is interesting because we're up in space and it's a lot of fun. So And I think, what are you going to miss about space? Everything about space. This has been Butch and my third flight to the International Space Station. We helped put it together. We've been up here seeing it change throughout all these years, do a lot of science up here. I think just the fact that we're living up here in this very unique place gives you an amazing perspective, not only, out the window, obviously, but also just on how to solve problems. I don't want to lose that spark of inspiration and that perspective when I leave, so I'm going to have to bottle it somehow.
There was a series of decisions that was made last July and August timeframe to balance the safe return of Butch and Sonny along with continuing the ISS mission. And one of those decisions was to modify Crew 9, the complement of Crew 9. And so in late September, Alex and I launched as a crew of 2 with 2 empty seats to come to the space station and rapidly integrate Butch and Sonny into Crew 9 and then continue to serve out the duration of Crew 9's planned time on orbit as members of Expedition 72.
Musk has argued that the ISS has served the purpose and offers little incremental utility, suggesting that resources should be redirected towards Mars exploration. However, Williams and other NASA officials argue that the ISS remains crucial for scientific research and technological advancements, including medical experiments and materials science. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Here at the Sinophil Asia International Peace Awards 2025 to bring you exceptional men and women as we stand witness to another milestone in the pursuit of peace.
Whether you are a small, a medium, or a large enterprise, be the first to see what is right and what is wrong.
We actually get better quality product as a result because we look after the people, we look after the employees.
We're promoting peace and goodwill of humanity to make the world a better place, and I'm trying to do that.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Another setback for Elon Musk's Mars ambitions. SpaceX's Starship rocket exploded in space today, just minutes after launching from Texas. Now, this marks the second failed mission this year for the massive spacecraft. Ryan Chang has the details.
Oh my gosh, it's like lighting up the...
Social media video showed debris from a failed SpaceX Starship test flight raining down from the skies above the Bahamas Thursday. It marks the second consecutive failure this year for Elon Musk's Mars rocket program. The Starship's flight lasted just minutes after lifting off from facilities at Boca Chica, Texas. A SpaceX live stream of the mission showed it tumbling uncontrollably after multiple engines shut down.
You can see we've lost several engines and we've lost attitude control of the vehicle.
In a statement, SpaceX said the vehicle experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly and contact was lost. It wasn't clear if the explosion was caused by SpaceX's automated flight termination system, which triggers when something on the rocket goes wrong.
No way. What is that?
The Federal Aviation Administration briefly issued ground stops at airports in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and Orlando because of space launch debris. It said it had opened a mishap investigation into the incident. The FAA said that means SpaceX must examine the failure's cause and get the agency's sign-off before Starship can fly again. SpaceX said there were no toxic materials among the debris. A month ago, the company's 7th Starship flight also ended in an explosive failure. The mishaps both happened in early mission phases SpaceX easily surpassed before. The back-to-back incidents mark a setback for a program Musk has sought to speed up this year.
Powerful waves from Tropical Cyclone Alfred caused significant erosion along Queensland Gold Coast beaches today, transforming once flat shorelines into steep cliffs with meters of sand stripped away. Now, thousands of residents in Australia's east have been ordered to stay indoors ahead of Alfred's scheduled Saturday landfall as the storm brought heavy rains, huge waves, and strong winds that cut off power and closed airports.
We have a 4 to 6 metre escarpment of the beach from Southport to Nobbies and complete beach erosion at Main Beach. Many of the structures beachside have been compromised. We have 285 work orders already in place, and the SES has 334 outstanding jobs.
Now, officials have described Alfred as a very rare event for Brisbane, Queensland state capital, with the city last hit by a cyclone more than half a century ago in 1974. The city of around 2.7 million had near misses from cyclones in 1990 and 2019. In a dramatic turn of events, the discovery of an unexploded World War II bomb has brought all train services to a halt at Paris' bustling Gare du Nord station. The bomb was found overnight during maintenance work near the tracks in the Saint-Denis suburb. As a result, Eurostar trains to London and all other services have been suspended until further notice.
At the moment, my train is not cancelled, but we'll see afterwards. I mean, you can't do anything about it, can you? If you discover. The point I was making is, how do you discover suddenly, after all these years, you know, on the tracks even, with all the trains I went through? So it seems strange to me, the whole thing, but hey, you know, until we know further.
French authorities are working to safely disarm the device, advising passengers to delay their journeys. This unexpected disruption highlights the ongoing legacy of World War II, with such discoveries still impacting daily life in Europe. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great weekend. Good night.